Ready? Welcome, everyone, to this special City Council work session for March 18th, 2024. Would you please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe. Here. McLaughlin. Cummins.
Here.
Manetza.
Here. This evening, we're going to have a presentation about the 2024 Coast Guard Festival from Tracy Riley.
Thank you. Well, the first thing is I've come bearing gifts. As most of you probably saw our Facebook post, our pins are out.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I have a presentation, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Thank you.
Yeah, you want to click? So I'm here tonight with Amy Kozanecki, our office manager at the festival. All right, so the week starts right away. Lighthouse Quilt Guild is the first thing at the church, and that's July 26th, 27th, Friday and Saturday. Saturday morning is the Coast Guard run, and that is run through the YMCA. The Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium. We're asking for permission to have that entertainment every night at the stadium. This year, we had a little something different. Annie Lengeek, our marketing director, found some local bands to open. So every night, as you'll see on the list, there's an opening local band that's going to start at 6 p.m. to play till 7. And then the main stage band is going to play at 7:30, starts at 7:30. You'll also notice on Friday the 2nd and Saturday the 3rd that we're going to have a drone show in addition to the regular show after the music, and of course with the fireworks on Saturday the 3rd. This is the Waterfront Stadium and all the parking lots surrounding that, asking for the same type of setup for portable restrooms, storage trailers, handicap parking spaces, and that sort of thing. Mulligan's Hollow. So I'm going to kind of switch things around there. So I'm going to start at the bottom where the dates start. The picnic is moving to town this year. So we're going to have our community picnic here in Mulligan's Hollow, and we're looking forward to working with the city on that from 2 to 5. Sunday's going to be a busy day, the pancake breakfast in the morning, followed by the car show, and then the community picnic in the afternoon. So you can spend the whole day Sunday in town, along with the flea on 7th as well. We'll have a tent set up and ice machines set up from Saturday the 27th through Wednesday the 31st. As usual, Tuesday the 30th is Kids' Day from 9 to 2, and Wednesday will be Senior Day from 8 to 2. Proposed layout for Kids' Day. Boat slips, again, the municipal marina boat slips that we usually ask for. Carnival. Carnival will be set up the same this year as it has been the past couple of years with Chinook Pier for the kids' rides. We get a lot of great feedback on that. The parents like to be able to kind of take the smaller guys over there and go through their little section of the carnival. So everything else with the carnival is the same. And it's Skirbeck's again. And there's all the parking lot situation in Harborfront, Chinook. Harbor Island, this is where the carnival workers camp. So we request a temporary campsite permit for Harbor Island from the 27th through the 4th for a place for the carnival folks to stay when they're not working. And those wooden lighthouses, kiosks that we have that we put all of our information on for the festival, and we keep that posted of what's the latest, greatest, and what's going on. We post those all over the city, request permission to have those up. They're pretty helpful and well received by the public. Food Vendor Row, there we go again. We're getting a lot of applications for those already. Same place as usual from the tip. towards Lafayette on Harbor Drive. And the vendor sponsor booths down between the stadium and by Harborfront Place. Kids Parade, the route is the same again. Starts over in the lot by the courthouse, down to First Street, up Washington, and back in that big rectangle. And that'll be Saturday, 10:30 to 12:30. So after the Y race, everybody can zip down there and get into the Kids Parade. The Grand Parade, permission for the permit for the Grand Parade from 11:30 to 2 o'clock on Saturday morning, August 3rd. The parade route will be the same as it was last year and for the past several years, at least. Permission for the showmobile out in front of public safety again, and everything else really is the same. And the route is the same. Cardboard boat race. That'll be Saturday, July 27th at 1:30, right down at the stadium. We'll have requests from rescue swimmers from the Department of Public Safety. We have those floating docks that we used as well last year, which worked out pretty well, it helps depending on the height of the river. And then PFDs for everybody that's participating. The car show, Sunday morning, portion of the Harborfront parking lot, Pump House, Portobello, for the purpose of holding the cruising car show. And then, of course, all the streets will be full of cars as well. And that will go from 9 to 1:30. Tuesday night street dance, put in the same place between 3rd and 5th Street. Request permission to close Washington between 3rd and 5th. The band stage will be on 4th Street in the intersection. It'll be Brenna again, and that will go from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Walk of Coast Guard History will be noon on Friday, right out here out front of City Hall. We'll have 2 presentations to make that day. Memorial service, Friday afternoon. That'll be the same as always, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Fireworks, Saturday, August 3rd on Dewey Hill, along with the drone show. All right, and that explains a little bit more about the drone show. The festival will be providing security Thursday night and Friday night overnight because of the drones being on the hill. So we'll have a security company up there for that. Water ball between 3rd and 4th Street on Washington, Wednesday night. Same as always. Central Park for the craft fair, Thursday the 1st for setup through Saturday the 3rd until 8 o'clock for the purpose of the craft fair. And that's managed by the Chamber of Commerce. Vintage Green will be responsible for appropriate applications for their flea market on 7th, and that begins at 1 o'clock on Sunday the 28th. And then this is just our requests for signage and traffic cones and those type of things, the same as in past years. The carnival, whoop, that's okay. You're zipping. I'm talking fast. No parking Sunday at 4 on the 28th through the 4th through 4 o'clock on the 4th, and that's just to let the carnival get in there and run without having to worry about folks parking. So, same as it has been past years. Food vendor row, city marinas, all the no parking tow away requests for all of those spots. And then for street dance, water ball, 6 to 11 or 6 to 8. Same with the arts and crafts, the flea on 7th, and then the vendors. Emergency routes, also no parking tow away on these emergency routes. and parking for the memorial service. Special requests, we do request again that could be given flexible time for the start of the musical fountain, depending on rain or shine, how, if we have rain or lightning, we may have to delay a little bit. Talks about requesting to put porta johns at different places given the changing schedule of activities, temporary banners up in the city. And then the one request that's a new one is a 100-year banner to be placed in front of the Coast Guard utility on Beacon, and I was going to say, let's do that now, but it says once the threat of snow is over, so let's put that off a little bit, because I don't know when snow is going to be over. And then the other banners were as usual, so. And, yep, Chinook Pier. All right, so this year, Coast Guard City USA will be on Dewey Hill, request to be on Dewey Hill from the 25th of July to the 5th of August. As you'll see, we're changing it up a little bit this year. We've got the 120 stars going up there with it. So little additional, we're going to have a little additional manpower to get up on the hill and put all that stuff up. But we will have a little bit of a larger display on the hill this year for the 100th.
So you're requesting additional letters on the hill over and above
The
one?
100th with all those stars is additional. And that would be it. Everything will be lit up. Yeah, it's all going to be like the letters are. Yeah, yeah. So.
Questions?
Well, I'll just say congratulations on 100 years and welcome Commander Riley to one of our meetings, and thank you for your presentation and taking on the executive director role. So I was excited to hear that a retired member of the Coast Guard was taking over for Mr. Smith and all. Yeah. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, exciting to hear that the community picnic will be back in the city at Mulligan's Hollow, and pretty neat to hear that you have a drone show planned for 2 nights. I think
Two nights,
Exciting.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, so very very exciting. Looking forward to the festival. I don't. It looks like most of it's pretty similar to last year, and as far as I know, things went pretty smooth. I'm sure our staff may have some feedback at some point if there were any concerns or any proposed changes. But appreciate you being here.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I just want to say, this is going to be exciting. I tell you what, if it's anything like it was last year, it was really good. But this year's going to be 100th. I think it's going to be overwhelmed. The town's going to be really overwhelmed. So we're going to have to tighten ourselves up a little bit and make sure we got everything under control a little bit. I see you're going to put all the 100th and the stars on there. And get on the hill over there, you're going to be very cautious of the hill itself. Make sure you don't disturb too much of the growth on there, because we don't want to lose the hill.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's different, basically. And the drones, that's going to be exciting to see.
They're going to be neat, yeah.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen them, they're really pretty neat to watch.
And I just want to echo what Ryan said. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the presentation and stepping up to the place, man. I tell you, you got some big shoes to fill. Mike, and I'm sure you'll do it just as well.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
been an honor. It's been great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you'll do it. You'll do fine.
Thank you.
Yep.
Karen, anything?
No, I'd just like to add my thanks and welcome.
I'm sorry.
That's right. I just wanted to add my thanks and say welcome as
Oh,
well.
you're welcome. Thank you.
The 100th and the stars on the hill. I'm never excited about seeing more things go on the hill because of every time you traipse up and down the hill, you do disturb vegetation, you create erosion. I'm not sure we need that on the hill. We have plenty of other things around, so I'm not excited about that one. Everything else looks great. I like the fact that you're carrying a lot of the traditions of the Coast Guard Festival forward, even though it's going to be somewhat bigger and somewhat more exciting, and the 100th would be a very special time. Other than that, I think that there's, we always talk about how many porta potties you got and all that. I'm sure that's all covered just the same as always. Can you comment on what you expect to have for guests and for the boats coming in for the parade of ships?
Right now, we have 4 cutters coming in. Mackinac, unfortunately, is in the yard this year. And so we're going to have the Spar, which will be the largest ship comes in. That's a buoy tender. The Mobile Bay, the Bristol Bay, and the Buckthorn right now.
Okay.
And possibly a Canadian. The Canadians, we'll see.
Okay, and what guests are we expecting?
Pardon me?
What guests are we
Oh,
expecting?
well, the Commandant is coming in this year.
Very good.
And, yep, as well as the 9th District Commander will be here. The guest list, the official party guest list that's being invited is anybody that had been in command of Grand Haven. So station officers in charge, group commanders, sector commanders, they all were in charge of Grand Haven. So
That's
a
great.
lot of old familiar faces for people that have been around for a while.
No, we
That's
like,
great.
I've seen quite a few.
yeah, we like to put the town on display, and
Yep.
it's important to have
It'll
the
be
good
great.
guests.
It's going to be neat.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I just have 2 points just to add because I think this was kind of brushed over last year, and I want to be clear with council and the public for consideration before the festival comes back for approval, that public safety at this time is still making the recommendation for pausing the social district the night of the street dance and the evening of the fireworks. That worked out well last year, which was a compromise from their original proposal. We're working on making sure we're clearly communicating those expectations with the businesses downtown, as well as the festival itself. But I want, before they come back at your next meeting for approval, I wanted to make sure that was clarified for you in the public. And then also, because I see our Depot friends in the audience, we will be working closely with the festival this year to ensure, especially with I'm sure, a more significant attendance, that we're being careful with the lines and concerts at the Depot to not encroach to the best of our abilities on those shops.
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
It's
They're,
always a challenge, but yeah,
They're valuable attendants, and they're all summer,
absolutely.
and so let's not make things any harder. Okay, very good. So it'll be next week or next meeting, first meeting in April when we will see this.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
And actually, and just to clarify too, so I understand that you said the social district, what public safety is recommending is the compromise solution that the same as last year that you ended up with, right?
Correct.
The final plan.
They had proposed additional time for suspension of the social district, but it was compromised. And again, I say compromised, and still not everybody was entirely happy, both sides of the table. But the fair compromise at that point was the evening of the street dance as well as the evening of the fireworks.
Okay.
Well, the concern has always been when you have the big crush of people,
It's very
you
difficult
have
to
have
be
good
aware
cro-
of
good
the.
crowd control for
yeah.
safety. So that's very understandable. All right.
It's understandable.
Well, we have no other items on our work session. And so I guess we will adjourn our work session until 7:30. We'll come back with our regular meeting.
All right.
by Pastor Nathan Strom of Grand Haven Church of God. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Is he here?
I do not see him.
Well, then I guess we'll roll straight into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no appointments or reappointments this evening, so we come to the approval of the consent and regular agendas. Anyone have any changes to the agendas? I would like to move item 10C from the consent agenda to new business. That would make it item 11D.
10C.
Anything else? Anyone? I get a motion to approve the agenda with that adjustment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Cummins, second by Fritz, to approve the consent and regular agendas as adjusted. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Cummins,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. And that brings us to the consent agenda.
Call the audience, Mayor.
I did that again. I did that before. I apologize, everyone. This is our first call to the audience, the first of two opportunities. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. Who would like to address council?
Brooke Bissonette, 503 Terrell Avenue, Grand Haven. Here tonight on behalf of the city of Ferrysburg. On the agenda is the BLP snowmelt resolution. The city has asked that City Council of Grand Haven consider that resolution by the BLP and accept the resolution so that residents are reimbursed for that snowmelt charge that has been charged to various municipalities, including the city of Ferrysburg. So I know the BLP has adopted a resolution asking City Council to consider the repayment of those funds, and the BLP will not reimburse those funds until the city and the BLP come up with some agreement on how that repayment is to happen. So the city of Ferrysburg is requesting that the city of Grand Haven would accept that resolution, find a way to reimburse that money in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. This is Jamal Stewart, and I'm here with my wife, Nicole Stewart, for Creative Community Entertainment here in Grand Haven. Last public meeting, we had a quick introduction of a program that we're looking to put in front of the council. Just wanted to add a little bit more to that with regards to our sponsors, the community outreach for the event, and what that also entails outside of the air show. I just wanted to give thanks to the local sponsors here, the Kirby House. We have also Floyd's Tire and a few other sponsors that we'll name during our announcement in front of the council. One thing we also wanted to invite to this program is a celebration of service. Celebration of service will be, in fact, an opportunity that we will have services for veterans that would include the VA out of Wyoming bringing their suicide prevention team out with pamphlets, counseling, and handouts for local veterans across the West Michigan area. Along with, we will have the county VA here for support that will have financial services, housing, and other opportunities for veterans and military service families. Not to also include that we will have a STEM program for the youth of the community as well, where we will entice them and inspire for skilled trades, with pilots, with maintenance, engineering, and other fashions that will give the community a little bit more edge for the new generation, so they have a little bit more purpose and inspiration. So again, we look forward to coming in front of the council and getting that reviewed with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I think we had some welcome news last week. That's with regards to, finally, we got a report, an investigative report from the results of the investigation on the BLP whistleblower. For those in the audience and who are listening and don't remember this, it started, I think, on about September 4th, when there was a closed session of council and a pathway was identified to move forward with that, the whistleblower's allegations. And then before the next council meeting, that pathway was not followed when we had two of our council members, Councilmember Cummings and Councilmember Lowe, went to our city attorney and developed a resolution to be presented at the next council meeting. And it was passed by 3-2. And the firm that was hired was, let's see, they're Foster Swift, Collins and Smith attorneys. They issued their report last week, and I'd like to thank both the city and the BLP for putting that report out on their websites. I think it was very informative. I looked at both copies, which were the same. 25 pages of report, a total of 68 pages, including all the appendices. And the major items in the resolution, which were answered in the report, I'm reading from, this is Lynn Moore's MLive article from September. Number 1, coordinated an attempt to delete email records related to a FOIA request it had received. Pursued permanent deletion of documents and emails to avoid disclosure per FOIA. 3, repeated false and misleading statements about the proposed charter amendments to its employees. 4, at least attempted to violate requirements of the Open Meetings Act. 5, pressured employees to campaign against proposed charter amendments by signing a letter contributing money and distributing door signs. And the results, which are aptly summarized in the Grand Haven Tribune's headline is investigators, no substantiated evidence to whistleblower complaints against the BLP. And I'd just like to mention there was 221,000 emails that were turned over, with 6,000 mentioned as pertinent. And so it took a lot of time, a lot of money to investigate. And I've got 3 requests of the city and council. Number 1, I would like it to find out how much money this cost. And I don't want to have to file another FOIA to do it. I've done plenty of those, and for me, the FOIAs are not cheap. Oh, so I guess that's it. I guess maybe I'll stay until the next one where I can finish my talk.
Okay, there will be a second call. Who else would like to address council? There will be a second call to the audience at the end of the meeting, so you'll have another opportunity at that time. There are no public hearings tonight, so we will not have much opportunity to address council during the meeting, but stick around if you have more to say later. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Marie, would you please read that?
Item A, approve council regular meeting minutes of February 19, 2024. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $2,259,071.11. Item C has been moved to new business. Item D, approve a special event request to hold Amazing Race, Race for Change on Sunday, May 19, 2024 at the Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium, Central Park, and Chinook Pier Park from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Item E, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a special event request to hold Kenzie's Bee Cafe Putt-Putt Golf Outing on Thursday, May 23, 2024, at the mini golf course from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m., including use of parking spaces and grass space adjacent to the golf course, and allow the sale and service of alcohol during event hours. Item F, approve the low bid contract with Fish GH LLC in the amount of $4,500 for an open charter boat slip at Chinook Pier. Item G, approve the low bid amount with Clifford Buck Construction of Muskegon in the amount of $123,390 for the repairs to the exterior of the depot and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. Item H, approve the decertification of Power Plant Road on the City of Grand Haven's Act 51 mapping system. And item I, approve the decertification of 4th Street from Monroe Ave to Adams Ave on the City of Grand Haven's Act 51 mapping system.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Second?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Questions on any item on the consent agenda?
I'm just looking for the Kenzie's Bee Cafe putt-putt outing. That seems to be like it's going to be a fun event. And I'm glad I live close to town. I can just walk down and maybe participate if I can get in there and sign up for it. But it sounds like it's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to at least seeing our putt-putt being used. And also the repairs at the depot, just want to make sure that they are done accordingly to what the historical things are, to make sure that everybody knows they're using the right material, the right things, so it doesn't look too obvious that it's going to be new. But I'd just like to make sure that it maintains the integrity of the building.
Anyone else? I guess I'd like to echo the concern about the repairs to the depot, that that a section of that wall is going to literally have to be dismantled brick by brick, bricks cleaned, stacked, reused, because you can't match the appearance of the brick. I understand that the mortar has to be specially formulated to be historically correct. The brick itself is unusual. You can move bricks from the interior to the exterior in order to use the same brick. You can't match the weathering of the brick, but at least it can be the same brick. But it just has to be done properly because the building is a treasure, and I hate to see us not do it right just to save a few bucks or save a little bit of time. The depot's been there 150 years or so. It's going to be there another 100, I hope. So let's keep it looking good. So if there are no other comments, please call the roll.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. Okay, brings us to new business. Please read the first item.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the access agreement with the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy for sampling on Harbor Island and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary documents.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Ashley, would you like to explain this?
We got Derek.
Derek will introduce
Derek,
it.
would you like to explain this?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor. Council members, Derek Gatis, Public Works Director for the city. So probably about 2 months ago, the Eagle came to us during a regular session communication that they would like to install some new equipment they got from the state to monitor some general parameters, if you will, that they're going to plan on using this, throughout the state at different sites, and they chose us to try it for the first time. So, our attorney suggested we devise an access agreement. We asked the state; they had a general one that they would use, just so in case they were to trip and fall or any type of other liabilities that come out of this would be covered. They're asking to come onto the city property and gather this information. The data that they're gathering is data that we already have, that we already been gathering. So this is just additional data. It's going to be gathered for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's going to be on a continuous basis. So the data that we have been gathering already, it's just an additional benefit for us. The data that we haven't been gathering, that we haven't required or doesn't necessarily concern our site, is stuff that the equipment does already or is equipped to gather. So no harm, no foul on that end. So we just a general agreement to come onto our property. They're going to do it at a time when we're taking samples. So city staff and HDR staff will, help and assist and monitor. There'll be I think it's at one site. I had a little cellular solar panel that powers it. and then they'll come gather that equipment at the end of 6 or 8 weeks when we do our next sampling set. So just wanted to make sure that the city was okay with that. Staff is good with it. Our attorney is completely fine, HDR as well. So, you have any questions?
Okay, any questions?
As long as it doesn't delay us.
Yep, no, it's just another act that we're working with Eagle, that we're working together. And they got some equipment they want to try out, so,
That's good to hear. As long as we're working with them and they're working with us, that's what we want to hear.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And I agree that I'm glad that we can work together with Eagle. And also if their new instrumentation discovers something that's important to us, I'd rather know about it now than later on when we're well into our remediation. So maybe it'll give us a heads up if there is something else.
Yep. So we are also going to do, just to get in a little more of the weeds, some split sampling. When they're there and they start it, we'll take some of those parameters that they are so we can see and kind of compare and make sure theirs is calibrated right. And so there isn't any changes in that regard. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
good stuff.
Like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions, would you please call the roll?
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. Next item, please.
Item B, consideration by City Council of a resolution to place a question on the August 6, 2024 primary election ballot for the Tri-Cities Historical Museum's millage renewal and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the necessary documents.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Ashley, would you like to introduce this?
Do you want to?
Or Maria?
So.
Or Tim?
Maria will cover this.
Just go down the line here.
Yep.
She's got the.
The museum has submitted to us a renewal for their millage. It was previously voted and approved on the August 2018 ballot. And so they are asking for the .25 millage renewal. The current levy they're collecting is 2.37 because of Headley rollbacks. We do have one amendment. The document submitted to us had the millage running from 2025 to 2030 for 6 years, 2031, but 6 years is actually 2025 through 2030. So I would encourage council to propose an amendment to change the date from 2031 to 2030 as the end date.
All right, so what we've actually got a motion for is the resolution as proposed in our packet. And so we need to amend that with this corrected date range.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to make that amendment?
So moved?
And I'll second it.
A motion by Lowe, second by Fritz, to amend the millage resolution to correct the number of years that it runs from 2025 to 2030. Was there anything else?
No.
Okay. Any questions on the motion to amend?
1 second. Okay. It's just, yeah, it was different from the language that they had initially put forth as
Right.
well, so. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's been,
I'm clear now.
it's been through iterations.
Right.
Yeah, we had also made we corrected the current levy amount and we corrected the estimated number of taxes.
Got it.
And then we changed proposal to proposition based off of attorney recommendations for the senior millage renewal that we did last meeting, a
Right.
couple meetings ago.
And we had those other corrections already posted with our packet, and so that's what the public got to view. And then we did have a question from the public about the number of years. So we had a good catch out there. If there are no other questions, would you please call the roll to amend this?
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Now we need to vote on the amended motion.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Thank you. Next item.
Item C, consideration by City Council of a resolution to reschedule the April 8, 2024 City Council meeting to April 15, 2024.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support?
Motion by Cummins, second by Lowe. I can speak for myself on this one. On April 8th, I hope to be chasing an eclipse across the eastern part of the country, so I'm planning to miss that day. And I understand
Yeah, with the,
Councilmember Cummins also needs to be
Yep.
elsewhere.
yeah.
So
Yeah, with
that-
the movement of the dates in April, it was gonna have some conflicts, yeah.
So that would make, at most, there would be 3 council members for a meeting, and that would be a quorum. But I think it would be best if we had everyone on council at a meeting.
I think that's the final game in the NCAA championship, by the way,
Oh,
that
even,
night. So that might be also another reason to
Even-
move it.
even
Since
more so,
members of the
so-
public might be watching that.
many pressing issues on April 8th.
That's right.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of pressing issues on that day.
Okay. So,
A certain birthday.
Oh, that, and
Someone's-
it's
Somebody's having-
Councilmember Fritz's birthday.
somebody's having a birthday?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody has to sing to me then.
We can get caught up the next meeting, though.
That's right.
We can pre-record.
I'll probably be doing the same thing you are, Bob. I think we're going to head down and see the eclipse, you know.
Okay, well, if anyone out there has never seen a total eclipse of the sun, it's quite an experience.
I've seen a total eclipse of the moon.
Not the same.
Pink Floyd, oh.
Interesting, but not the same. Yeah, I saw it in 2017. I went to Kentucky and saw it. It was quite an experience. I want to see it again. All right, any other questions on this motion? Please call the roll.
Cummins,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Okay, next item.
All right, our new item D, approve a special event request to allow Grand Haven Jeep Fest to sell and serve alcohol on the sport court surface at the Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium during the Jeep Fest event from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Support?
Motion by Cummins, second by Lowe. I had this pulled off for a couple of reasons. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mayor. I'm just being prepared to answer your questions.
Yes, I'll get to you in a moment. I just want to explain why I had this pulled off the consent agenda, because usually I invite the person who asked for that to be done to speak. So, a couple of things. One is that it wasn't reviewed by the boards and commissions that typically review these because it came in late. So it was a late addition. All the supporting documentation in our packet was dated for either August or October of last year. This was a new addition, and I had questions about how it's supposed to operate. So I guess on that note, I'll turn it over to you and explain what this is.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Dana Cullware, Special Events and Project Manager for the city. So last fall, you saw a request from Jeep Fest for their annual Jeep Fest event that was to be expanded from what it was the previous year. So that was increasing the scale in terms of the locations, extending it on Washington, in Harborfront parking lot, and in Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium. Since that time and your approval, there were some additional discussions between the Jeep Fest organizer and sponsors and making additional plans. Jason Rogers is here from Jeep Fest to speak to some of the specifics of the request in terms of the alcohol, which is a 10 by 20-foot tent where the alcohol would be served under that 10 by 20 tent, and just that area would be fenced in. So traditionally, most events where there's alcohol being served, it's encapsulating the entire stadium. That is not the case. This would be for a very small portion of the stadium area. The concrete sport court surface is what we typically call it. Just a portion of that would be utilized for that. The request did come in later. We were trying to help facilitate that. We did present it to the Parks and Recreation Board, and they recommended approval of the request. It did not go before the DDA Board, and that was consistent with past events. We did bring the entirety of the Jeep Fest request to the DDA Board this past fall, and that was because of the expanded footprint on Washington and the parking lots, but not because of the additional activities. Typically, our past practice is that we do bring all events in city parks to the Parks and Recreation Board. That's our understanding. And for DDA reoccurring events, we have not brought them before the DDA board. We can certainly change that approach, but that was the rationale as to why we didn't bring it before the DDA board. We typically have not in the past for other events occurring in the DDA. So I'll turn it over to Jason to just explain a little bit more about the addition and what has transpired, and I'll be available for additional questions after as well.
Okay.
Jason Rogers, Grand Haven Jeep Fest. So we had a distillery from Grand Rapids, Wiseman Distillery, who has done this at numerous events across West Michigan. They heard about Jeep Fest because they are Jeepers themselves, and they heard about who we were supporting, Children's Advocacy Center, and they said, that's something we want to get behind. We want to be a part of that. We want to be a large sponsor of your event, but it only makes sense to us if we can market our product. And the way they want to do it is in the form of like a tasting, not like a traditional beer tent where hundreds of people are inside it and liquor's flowing, but in the sense that they will have samples of seltzers that they produce that people can try. If they want to try it, it has to be done inside that area, which will be regulated how many people can be in there. If they want to purchase that product, they have to take it just like anybody that would purchase something at Fortino's or D&W or anything else and take it home to consume it. But they wanted people to be able to try it, thus the reason to have that area that they can do that.
So any consumption is expected to be done in the tent,
Has to be.
in this 10 by 20
Yep.
foot tent?
Yep. If they open something in there, they have to stay in there.
And you anticipate that nobody will step outside the tent with their drink in hand?
Yeah, there'll be people there that have to tell them they can't. The same as, I don't know what happens at other places where you can buy alcohol downtown that aren't in the social district. The same thing would be expected of that person. You can't walk outside and have that. And we'll be there telling them the same thing.
Okay, because we never included the waterfront stadium in the social district.
Correct. And the distillery knows that. They are aware of where the parameters are, that they're not part of the social district being down there. But they also know that's the area where hundreds and hundreds of people will be, and they want the exposure of being able to see all those people, and people see what they have to offer.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So when did this come before the Parks and Rec Board as a change?
It went before the Parks and Recreation Board at their March meeting, so that would have been March 6th or 7th. I just don't have the date right in front of me, but it was at their last meeting that
Okay.
it went before the Parks Board.
I guess I should have asked Mike, he's always at those.
Make that one.
Didn't make that one. Okay. I always like it when these things are thought about ahead of time so that everything is planned instead of a last-minute addition of something like this.
Yeah. And that's certainly our aim as well.
Okay. Any questions? Ready to vote?
Cummins?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Manetza?
No. Okay, that brings us to the end of our new business. Which brings us to report by city council. We have an item on here, but I guess I would invite council members to make comments as usual before we delve into that. So anyone have any report by city council other than the BLP resolution?
Well, yes, we were, well, all of us were in Lansing
Okay.
at CapCon, meeting with some of our legislators, as well as attending some various classes for education. One of the things that I found really productive, and I still need to pass on to the city manager, is that I did have a very productive discussion with the rail Department of Transportation liaison about our street Columbus. And they said it was very appropriate for them to get involved with us immediately, and that we needed to fill out Form 1425, requesting that. But that is precisely what they're there for, to help us through that process with rail and in getting that two-way street and the rail crossing as safe as possible. That's all I have.
Okay, well, thanks. Anything else? Mike?
Well, I could always say something about the Tigers if you want me to, but
Well, it's,
we'll
you can say what you wish.
But anyways, yeah, it was a really nice convention. The MML was really good. I got to meet up with a lot of other mayors and that from other towns and that, and coming to find out, years ago, we used to have mayor exchange in that, and we learned a lot. I remember going up to Boyne City when they were doing their downtown area, was all tore up. And we went there and we noticed that it was hard for them to get to their businesses, and what we did here was we opened up the sidewalks so we could get to businesses. We learned something from them when we went to those places. If we can find a place that's gonna be with anything like we have here, I would recommend maybe we try that again. And because we have Harbor Island with a lot of pollution, there's probably some place around that has had highly polluted areas. If we can try and figure out how they did it and work with their council and their mayors and that and see, and get some information from other places, it would be very helpful for us, or anything that we're gonna be doing here. I thought it was a good thing, so that's what I took back. Besides all the other seminars and sessions they went to, it was nice to hear legislators talking about taxes for short-term rentals that we're proposing. It would be abundance for us here. It would help us enormously in the city of Grand Haven, as many short-term rentals we have. And all the other things that they brought up, the legislators, they have a lot of good things that seem to be going to be going through to help us. So it was a very good meeting and good speakers.
Yep.
I just wanted to add something, because you reminded me, one of the really important takeaways, too, was that we are not alone in this net migration of our youth out of our city. All across Michigan, that's an issue, and many, many other communities are dealing with this issue. And so they are looking, just like we are, and I, too, have had a number of conversations with some city officials and what actions they're taking to try to attract, because right now we're trying to attract our graduates to come back and live and stay here in Grand Haven versus going elsewhere. We have a net migration out of Michigan, but of our young people, and that is not that's not a viable solution for any of our cities. We really need to be able, our cities are all getting older, aging, and so there are a number of strategies that I heard from other communities where they are trying to engage those younger in our community, both in public service and else, and just engaged, and understanding that their voice matters, that you don't have to live here your entire life. You don't have to be old people like we are, well, not you, over the age of 60 to be in public service, that instead, trying to attract some of those young people and that their voice matters. And so some of those things really resonated with me, and connected with some of those other city officials about, some things that we might be able to do here in Grand Haven.
Thank you. Yeah, I was at the Capitol Conference as well, and sometimes people wonder why would local officials go to a conference in Lansing or somewhere else, but it really is a good way to find out what's going on at the state level, what's going on in the legislature. Talk to your legislators. We met with Senator Victory briefly. We talked to our lobbyists at MML. They gave us a rundown on various things that are happening. You go to the seminars. I went to one on the new law for citing of renewable projects, and that got a lot of press last fall when it passed. The description we got of it was that it's still a work in progress. Michigan Public Service Commission is still writing the rules. They still don't know how to do it. So it was kind of rushed through and not thought through enough, but it's on the books and they're trying to figure out how to make that work. But it's only for large projects. Smaller projects like we might do within the city limits would still be under substantially local control. I don't think this kicks in until you're I forget what the threshold is, much higher than what we would fit into our community. They talked quite a bit about the politics of state government, federal government and such, and about the population issues and all that. So it's always good for us to get out and know what's going on. It makes us better able to represent our city within the larger community of other cities and to take back lessons learned from others. So I'm pleased that we're able to go, and that's kind of my report as to why we went. So having said that, I would like to bring up the item which is on our agenda, the BLP resolution regarding snow melt costs. At the February 29th BLP meeting, BLP passed a resolution, which we have a copy of and which has been published, requesting that the city council consider reimbursing back the portion of the cost of the equipment which BLP paid, and then turning that into some other form of payment, such as they're doing with the other 3/4 of it. And what the request is, and I'll read it, and this is not an action item for tonight, but this is something that we can talk about a bit. I'm going to read what the resolution says, just so that it's clear what the words are. I'm going to skip the whereases. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Light and Power respectfully ask Grand Haven City Council to consider in an open meeting the repayment of $259,287.75 that will not be collected by the Board of Light and Power for the city's snow melt replacement equipment, and be it further resolved, the Board of Light and Power respectfully asks Grand Haven City Council, after consideration in an open meeting, to pass a formal resolution indicating its decision regarding repayment. And so I think that we can talk about this as we see fit today, because this is a relatively informal part of the meeting and no action is requested. But I think we should decide how we want to approach this. We could place it on an agenda and then take it up as a motion and a second and an action item. We could ask for a joint meeting where we could discuss among the combined group. We could possibly do something else. We could have a member of the BLP present it to us formally, because this comes to us in this manner as a published resolution. But I think that it deserves a response of some sort. I think it was professionally and respectfully submitted, and that they deserve some kind of response from us. So at that point, I guess I would invite members of the council to say how they would like to deal with this.
I would like to put it on the top of an agenda of our first joint meeting with the Board of Light and Power.
I'd like to have a meeting between the parties again, to be honest with you, and figure it out, because if you remember when we signed this agreement with them, our lawyer gave us the opinion that it was okay to go forward, and that's how we went forward. We went by his information. And now it's not right. I'm going, did we get misinformation from him or whatever? I think it should be taken care of one way or another, but we got misled, by my opinion. I'm just thinking it's being misled by him, because we trusted him by writing an agreement that it was saying, yes, it was okay when it came to us, and we all agreed to it. It was absolutely what it was. But I think we should probably sit down and meet between the two parties and see what we can figure something out before we put it.
I think it would be best in a joint session, just because I believe we all might have different recollections of what transpired. And I think the best way to do that is through their request in an open joint meeting where we can understand what's behind this, as well as
I guess I'm not asking us to pass judgment on the content of it. I'd like to know the process. How do we go forward?
Yeah, which is why I recommended a joint session where we could discuss that together.
Okay. Ryan, thoughts?
Look, joint session, we haven't had one in a while. I'm fine to discuss this, although I'm a little, troubled by the fact that this has come back up, considering that we had already sat and had an agreement, and from my perspective, still have an agreement. We do. I will make clear to the city of Ferrysburg, and please take this back to your community, that the city of Grand Haven didn't ask the Board of Light and Power to pass some sort of fee along to the customers of the city of Ferrysburg. In fact, I was in a meeting discussing this agreement with the city manager and the previous mayor and Kurt Knopf from the BLP, Jerry Witherall from the BLP, and then General Manager Dave Walters. And it was the general manager at the time's suggestion that they should add some sort of fee on to recoup some sort of costs. And I had argued quite strongly against him that wasn't necessary. That's something that. But at the end of the day, it was something that was going to be up to his board, and it was something that he chose to bring to his board, and his board chose to pass to request from the city of Ferrisburg. So the fact that this resolution that the Board of Light and Power has passed is indicating that somehow them returning some sort of dollars to the city of Ferrisburg is dependent on what the city of Grand Haven does is just ridiculous. It's not accurate. They could choose to return those dollars at any point that they want to. And if they want to have a separate discussion with us about renegotiating some sort of agreement, they're always welcome to make that request of us. But from my perspective, we have an agreement. The fact that they charge the city of Ferrisburg a separate surcharge separately is a separate matter between the city of Ferrisburg and the Board of Light and Power. I don't think that the city of Grand Haven is a party to that. And I think that's really it's misplaced that the city of Ferrisburg is coming to us indicating that really it's up to us to make this decision. They could return your money at any point in time. That's a choice that they've made not to. So I think that's important that message be made clear. But happy to discuss this and plenty of other matters with the Board of Light and Power and how we hopefully can work together going forward.
So would you be in favor of dealing with this in a joint meeting between the boards, or would you prefer?
Not just to discuss this. I think we have plenty of agenda items that we can discuss. I'd be fine with this being an agenda item, but.
Okay, because we could otherwise deal with it in our own meeting and then have a joint meeting at some other time. But then, I just want it to be productive. I think that it's easier for people, members of boards, whether it's separate, whatever their points of view are, that when you're all sitting around the table looking at each other, it's easier to communicate. It's easier to be civil and have a meeting of the minds. So I think that would be the plus of a joint meeting.
I would agree with that. I think rather than having Board of Light and Power come and speak at a public, we should be all at the table together so that we can, clarify any misunderstanding as it relates to this and move forward.
Okay, and I know that Mr. Westbrook was concerned that when I talked to him privately or separately, that a joint meeting, he wanted to make sure it was positive, that it was upbeat, that it dealt with things in a forward-looking manner, and that there was some concern that putting this in a joint meeting would be not as productive, but I still feel that when you're all at the table together, it's easier to communicate. So that was my take all along. If it's the sense of this council, we're not voting on anything tonight, but if our preference is to deal with this, but to deal with it in a open joint meeting, then I would certainly be in favor of that. And I can work with the BLP board to figure out a time and an agenda, and we can set something up. Would that be agreeable to council?
Well, I hope we'd all be able to submit potential agenda items for consideration.
That's fine. We need a time and a format, and as far as an agenda, we know one item.
Right. No, that's true.
We can flesh out an agenda, and I can work with the VLP board to make sure that that makes for a good, productive meeting. Mr. Westbrook, hate to put you on the spot, but you kind of heard the conversation here. Is this an acceptable arrangement to the board?
Well, I'll reiterate what I said before, that, I mean, Ryan, your response tonight was a little caustic, and I was hoping our first joint meeting wouldn't be, have any adversarial conversation, and could just be a healthy, open dialogue, easy agenda. But if your wish is to have us attend, I mean, the board is obviously more than willing to meet with you and talk. If this is what the city council wants, we would obviously oblige to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, like I say, we're not voting tonight, but we're trying to get a consensus as to how to move forward.
Right.
Appreciate that.
I think, just in the spirit of cooperation, I think we really do want to have a dialogue. If we consider your resolution, it would be very one-sided. you would not be able to talk while we were discussing it. We would all vote, and it would be the end of it. And I think the better way to handle that in the interest of moving forward with our working relationship is to have an open discussion in a joint meeting about that. Not, not to set us back, but just to make sure we all are understanding where everyone else is coming from. And it's not, us doing it in isolation and you not being able to speak. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. That's all I had to say about this item. That's kind of the direction I was looking for. Ashley, did you have anything you want to add?
Not on this item, no.
All right. Well, then I'm going to turn it over to you for, if there are no other council comments or nothing about the Tigers, I'll turn it over to report by city manager.
I'm gonna say, I can just highlight with the board chair and the audience this evening some success we've had on the staff level and working really cooperatively with the BLP lately, and just express some appreciation for BLP staff and their willingness to collaborate with us. Mr. Shelley, the interim director, has joined me for my coffee hours, and we had a really great conversation with the residents who attended in that format, and expressed some gratitude to Eric Booth and Paul Cedarquist as well, who have been really very actively working with our community energy plan group in assisting us as we facilitate that process. And then I highlighted to you all that even recently, Austin at the BLP helped us on his own time with some repairs at the mini golf. So just wanted to publicly express some gratitude to their staff for their willingness to help us out.
Okay. Thank you. Maria, did you have anything?
No.
It's not on the, report by clerk is not on the agenda, but,
We can always add it. Not tonight.
okay. Well, that brings us to our second call to the audience. This is our second opportunity. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3285. Who would like to address council?
Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd just like to finish up with what I was saying previously. My three asks of the city and the council are, number one, I'd like to see what the cost for this investigation was. From what we've been told, there was a tremendous amount of material investigated. It went on for, pretty much 6 months, right? Long time. A lot of hours are going to be spent on that. My other request is of council. I'd like to see all the council members actually say that they support this report. It was pushed by council. It was done at your request. I think you owe the city people who are paying for this your acknowledgement that you're supporting this report. Number three, since there was such a large amount of money, I think we need to look at how we got into this. And I think the way we got into it was the fact that we had council members who were allowed to meet with our lawyer, develop resolutions and so forth. I don't think that's really standard. I think what we need to do is we need to see this go through our city manager. And if we have things of this importance, they should be brought to the city manager, and the city manager should be involved with putting together resolutions. Other council members should have been talked to about this. As far as I remember the conversation with some of the other council members, they were not. This is totally wrong. I think we need to change our process because this is costing the city a mint of money. It will, and if we're allowed to continue in this manner, we're going to see additional city money, in my mind, not well spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dave Evanowski, Grand Haven Beach Company. Is it okay to do two different things? Is it okay?
Is it what?
Okay to discuss two different things? Okay.
Sure, you have 3 minutes to discuss as
3
many
minutes,
things as
keep
you
going.
wish.
All right, starting now. First of all, I'm a Jeeper, and I'm excited for Jeep Fest this year. Talked to Jason a few times about sponsoring, and just having them in the Waterfront Stadium is great. I noticed the event's been growing. I'm not quite sure the outcome of the request for tonight's agenda. We're fine with the request. My hope is that it doesn't grow into, well, let's put a fence around the whole stadium now because we want to do this, bands. And I'm the one that was begging them, come down to our area. We would love, I love Jeeps. I have a Jeep. So that's all I'll say about that. We're glad they're there. We just hope it doesn't grow into another week-long, festival, and then we get blocked. We're not making business. So also about I know you're going to talk about the depot bids tonight. We're excited that bids are in. You mentioned about getting the building back to the way it was, and we agree with that. Mike, my concern as a former builder, someone who knows you get what you pay for, I hope that the bid that they're looking at isn't going to be a contractor comes in and says, well, I didn't know this would be like this. We need more weeks, or, so we trust your decision on the, meeting with the builders, what they can and can't do. We just hope that the people we choose for this great price isn't going to delay us opening later in the summer, already hurting our business. So we hope that you'll discern that at your best. And it's not always about price. Price is important, but you got one at 123 and 390, and two at over 229 and 239. There's a big gap in price. Maybe those guys didn't want the job; they outbid themselves. But we hope that the people that do come in, you choose, are the ones who are qualified. We'll get the building back to the way it's supposed to be, at the right price and at the right timing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Brooke Bissonette, 503 Terrell, here on behalf of the city of Ferrysburg. Just to discuss, the city of Ferrysburg was asking the BLP to return the money that was collected for 2023. They stopped collecting the money going forward. Wherever that money went, whether it went to the city of Grand Haven or if the BLP still has it, that's what should be reimbursed. It's not necessarily that the city should fund it, but I know that the snow melt system has to be funded in some way, and I think the BLP is requesting that the city bear that cost. But it wasn't the city of Ferrysburg's intent to tell the city of Grand Haven to repay it if the city doesn't have the money. If it's still with the BLP, that's where it should be returned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there, it's Jerry McCaleb, West Olive, and I want to address this snow melt issue also, who's going to pay for what. So I looked up, it's Bolt versus the city of Lansing, from my understanding, that addresses the question of fees and taxes. And it was Alexander Bolt who was charged $59.83 for stormwater separation. And he objected to this because it's by Headley. If it's a tax, they couldn't tax without a vote, and if it's a fee, how did it qualify? So a user fee must have by a fact sheet put out by your law firm Dickinson Wright. So I don't know why your Dickinson Wright lawyer doesn't agree with Dickinson Wright, but it says, a lawyer fee must serve a regulatory purpose rather than a revenue-raising purpose. From my understanding, if you're paying for paying money back, that's revenue raising, which is it doesn't serve a purpose other than raise money to pay back for the snowmelt boilers. A user fee must be proportionate to the necessary cost of the service and correspond to any benefits conferred by the service. The city of Ferrysburg does not receive any benefits by the snowmelt. It's not their amenity, so I cannot see how they can be liable to pay for something that isn't theirs. And a user fee, so point 3 is a user fee must be a commodity or service voluntarily used. Again, it's not their amenity. So as far as to them to say, you must pay for this by charging it through the electric service makes no sense whatsoever. And I would say to point 1, it's definitely a revenue-raising purpose because you're trying to raise $250,000 of what part of that $1 million. The snow melt system, again, is Grand Haven. It's not Ferrysburg's. And point 3, the snow melt is They didn't vote on it. They shouldn't have to pay for it. So I think this whole thing is a moot point as far as who should pay for this. It shouldn't be the BLP customers that should pay for it. And as Mr. Walters himself said, that you can't give Ferrisburg, you can't stop taking Ferrisburg's money and take everybody else's money, because everybody has to be treated the same way. So even the city of Grand Haven, even though it's their amenity, they can't pay for it through the BLP rates. So in all of that, it is the city's responsibility. It doesn't matter legally as to if somebody said, oh yeah, it's okay if you do this, or if your attorney said, yeah, it's a great idea to do this, when his old law firm said it's not. So just thought I'd throw that in the mix. And as far as Mr. Hagan, I just totally agree with everything that he said here tonight. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Who else would like to take their 3.5 minutes to address council? Seeing no one, I will close the call to the audience. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.